Hi there, I'm Michaela, and today I'm going to show you how to make an interpretational floral arrangement in the synergistic style. The Garden Club of Virginia definition for a synergistic arrangement is a creative design consisting of 3 or more units which have greater impact when viewed together than they would on their own. All the units share the same colors, textures, and forms, creating balance, rhythm, and harmony, but each unit should not appear as a completed design in itself. A connective, either man-made or plant, material may be used to connect the units. A couple of things I want to highlight for that, for you. First, 3 or more units. So you could have 3, you could have 5, but remember they're units, not necessarily containers. So plant material can stand on its own. It can be in a container. This leaves a lot of room for interpretation. The second one is your units should have greater impact when viewed together than when viewed alone. So you're looking to create a composition of multiple units, not distinct and separate flower arrangements. Next, each unit should not appear as a completed design in and of itself. Now, this is actually great news for you because it means that you don't need to spend too much time over editing each individual unit, and it means that you don't necessarily need a lot of plant material to do this type of arrangement. And finally, connective material may be used. You don't have to use connective material. I find it a really helpful strategy to create that true synergy or connection between the elements. So today our assignment is to interpret the song America by Simon and Garfunkel. Many of us are very familiar with the song and the lyrics, but I encourage you to listen to the music for inspiration while you are arranging. The song is from the American folk rock tradition and was composed by Paul Simon while on a cross-country road trip with his girlfriend Kathy, who is mentioned several times in the song. They travel across the country hitchhiking in a car and riding on a bus, and there are many opportunities for inspiration of your arrangement in this song. The phenomenon of the physical movement across a large span of land, the imagery of what you might see from the window of a car or a bus as the landscape changes across America, the rhythm of the music which swells at each refrain. The refrain is, "We all come to look for America." And the tone of the lyrics, which evolve through the trip if you listen carefully. They're optimistic at the start. "Let us be lovers, we'll marry our fortunes together," to a more anxious feeling at the end. "I'm empty and aching, and I don't know why." I've chosen to create an arrangement that has pieces of all of these elements: visual movement, highs and lows, and a rhythm and repetition of the elements. When planning this arrangement, I started with my container. I happen to have 6 of these small, flat-sided vases. And I've decided to use all of them in a non-traditional combination to create the synergy of my design. I thought they would be appropriate. The shape of them was appropriate for the movement and the undulation and the rhythm. And also I love that they have this sort of sleek and modern and shiny vibe that's really going to contrast nicely against my natural floral materials. In order to highlight the shape of the vases and get movement from high to low, I'm going to place the vases in a non-traditional arrangement. And you can see I've already started that. I've set up kind of a base for these vases. It's a slice of wood. And on top of that, I've placed some river rocks and some green moss that you can buy from, both of which you can buy from Michael's. And I've started stacking and playing with the arrangement of the vases. I've got 2 that are kind of stacked together here. I've used some of the white museum putty just to hold everything together as I'm building this arrangement. Then I decided to place one on its side with another overlapping facing forward. In addition to that, I'm going to put one more here. And then in order to build from high to low, you can kind of see where I'm heading with this. Here's my low, and then here's my high. I've got the museum putty on there, which is hopefully going to hold this guy in place. All right, so I've got a lot of opportunity for units here because each of these vases have an opening, and fortunately they have a really small opening, so I don't need to use a lot of plant material. So I've got my high to low, I've got openings facing multiple directions, so I really have a lot of opportunity to make this synergistic and rhythmic and connected. So moving on to plant material, you know that you need to repeat your floral material to create the rhythm and the harmony with each unit, but I don't want to repeat the exact same combination in each unit. So I've chosen to use just 2 types of floral materials. I have these fun purple freesias, which have a great architectural shape to them. They've got a long, slender stem, some beautiful color at the top, and these kind of moving tips, which I think is a really great way to convey a little sense of movement. And then I've got this lovely little delicate Bupleurum, which just has the very tiniest little touch of yellow in texture and just a beautiful green. I've actually stripped things a little bit, so it's not quite as full as it might be, and I've taken off some of the bigger leaves to make it fit in my vases. So all of the plant material I'm going to be using for this arrangement is in this single glass. So I have very minimal plant material, and I'm making sure that I vary it and repeat it, but that each element is a little bit different. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting these guys in their vases. And I'm gonna start again from high to low. So here's my high. Another one here. And then just for a little change of movement and direction, I'm actually gonna pop one here at the end. Let me move this over so you can see the whole thing. There we go. So I've got, my color is starting to evolve, and I'm getting some movement in the shape. I'm gonna move my river rocks too. I've got this kind of nice flow of the river rocks and the grass. So I've got color, I've got contrast, and I'm adding now some additional material. So here I've got my Bupleurum. I'm gonna add it to this vase with the freesia. So I've got a little color there. I'm gonna actually bring it over all the way to this vase, which is facing forward. And I'm gonna pop a little in there just to kind of drape over. But I'm gonna resist the urge on that one to add any freesia. Let's just fill that up a little bit more. So you get a little bit of flowing and a little bit of connection of the green. I'm gonna add just a touch more to this one. Beautiful. All right, so far I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 units in this design. I'm gonna add a 5th unit, but I'm not gonna put it in a container. I'm actually gonna just go ahead and rest it right here. So it's kind of, see how much better it is when I add that little bit of color to the center of this design? But I'm not gonna put it in a container, yet it is still a unit as part of the overall design. So it really brings my flow together. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. And actually, if you count the empty vases, I've got 2 more. And using an empty vase can be a really effective use of positive and negative space in a design like this. Okay, so that then leaves me, I've checked my vases, my containers. I've got the multiple units. I've got units that are not complete in and of themselves. This just has a single stem in it. Each one is different, and yet they're all working together as a whole. So the thing that is missing here for me is the connective material. So I found a couple of ideas for connective material. You can use a natural kind of viney plant like an ivy or a clematis. I wanted something with a little more structure. So I found these funny little pumpkins at Michael's that are made of spiral grapevine. I disassembled one and kind of pulled it apart, and it looks like this. So sort of a little accordion spiral grapevine with a lot of texture and that great brown natural color. Another option that you see a lot in synergistic designs is wire. This is a bronze wire that could be used between the elements to convey that sense of rhythm and movement. So I'm going to go ahead and carefully figure out how I'm going to connect this. And what I'm going to try to do is connect the top to the bottom while weaving some of these other elements in. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put this in the vase here. And I'm going to put it in the vase here. Perhaps around the vase here. Perfect. And that's sort of staying on its own. I'd like to see, instead of this just stretching so directly from top to bottom, I think it might be interesting if I actually integrate it into this little vase. So hopefully everything is not going to tip over here, but I'm going to try to wrap it around this vase. And bring it back over here. All right, so I've got some interesting movement here. We could pull it down just a little bit. It's a little tricky to manipulate, but definitely can work with it. And then I think maybe it would be fun to see this little fella coming through the grapevine as well. Just letting him be supported. I'm going to put a rock on his back. So all of these extra elements come in really handy in kind of balancing the overall design. And then I'm just going to play with kind of the direction of the flowers. So I've got some movement, direction. I'm going to put my last little fella in right here, using the vine to kind of give him just a little bit of a lift around the grapevine. A little bit more lift. All right. So I think, although I could probably tweak it a little bit more, we're looking at a pretty complete design here. So like I said, we've checked all the boxes. We've got the multiple units. We've got the units that work together as a combination of whole. We've got different elements, yet repeating elements in each unit. We've got a movement from high to low. We've got a contrast of smooth and natural. We've got great sense of rhythm and balance and repetition. So I think we've checked all the boxes for a synergistic arrangement, and hopefully this gives you a sense of how simple and fun it can be to create your own arrangement. And I encourage you to listen to America by Simon and Garfunkel while you create your own synergistic arrangement. Enjoy.